Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
Main Street Media, Utah. This is Talk with Jon, and I just noticed that my background is not proper, and I got that fixed. So, all right, folks, thank you for joining me here today. This is Talk with Jon. I am your host of Talk with Jon. Kind of funny how that works. Here, typically Tuesdays afternoons from 4 to 6 p.m. Utah time. You can join me right here on KMMU, Main Street Media, Utah. You can visit our, what would be the proper term, channels on YouTube, X, and Rumble. Feel free to go there. And especially if you go on YouTube, you can interact with us directly from YouTube if you want to enter comments. And today, that might be something you want to do. Also, if Dwayne can, if our producer is able to open the phone lines, he's going to put that down. So it'll be right here underneath the screen, down there. He would put the phone number of the show. So, once again, this is Talk with Jon. Looking forward to you. It's on the name tag. Okay, so I'm not seeing that name tag like I normally do. So don't know what's going on there, Dwayne. But nonetheless, and forgive us, folks. And the phone number, I'm gonna do this real quick, is 385-899. I believe it's 2134. I'm going a little bit from memory on that one. Yes, it is 2134. Okay, so before we get going any further, though, once again, thank you so much for being here. Main Street Media, Utah, brought to you by KMMU.org. That's a great way to go. Go to our website, KMMU.org, and you can. That'll take you to the links for Rumble, for X, and for YouTube. So, before we get going any further, though, I do want to get the show off to a proper start. I like to give out the show motto, the show mantra, and the show motto. It is, the prayer, the show prayer, as it were, and the mantra. And when it comes to doing the show, it's just the prayer of my heart. I hope my show is a gift back to my forefathers, the founding fathers, and may it be an acceptable token to our Father above. Then the show mantra: where there is liberty, there is the Spirit of Christ. Where the Spirit of Christ is, there will be liberty. And the greater the Spirit of Christ, the greater liberty will be. Now, folks, bottom line is, I don't live up to that every day of my life, and definitely not every minute of my life. There's been a lot of frustration and anger recently that I've had towards different things in our world, like I'm sure many of you do. This has been just a challenging time, but I've asked for our guest who is now live with us. I'm going to bring him up. His name is Steve Elkins. Steve Elkins is has his own show on Republic Broadcasting Network. If I remember correctly, I want to say it's Utah time. It's 6 to 8 p.m. I could be wrong on that. What time is your show live on Republic Broadcasting, Steve?
It's 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Dang it. Okay. So that would be 5 to 7 Utah time, folks. It's worth listening to. He brings forth great information. A little bit about him: he was an ER nurse for 25 years, 29 years, if I remember correctly. Recently retired. That's a little bit about him, but also has been involved in just the Republic Broadcasting Network for a number of years. Met the founder of Republic Broadcasting Network, John Statmiller. A great guy. John Statmiller brought him on, and just he does a phenomenal show on Sunday nights. So I listen to that pretty much weekly. So it's something worth catching, folks. And the great thing is it's online. So if you're not able to listen to it live, you can listen to it later. And a great thing about Steve Elkins is, and Republic Broadcasting Network, they also take phone calls. So you can interact with him and ask him questions about his thoughts on different subject matters when he's on his show. Steve, anything else that you want to mention that I might have missed?
Well, actually, my specialty, retired now, but my specialty was ICU, intensive care unit. Did a little bit of ER, but mainly ICU my entire career, pretty much.
Thank you for correcting me on that.
Just let you know.
Okay. So let's get to it.
Okay.
We texted back and forth a bunch with the Charlie Kirk incident. In fact, the audience, many in the audience has heard this before, but this is not going to be the first. This is going to be the first time for some, and definitely for a few, this will be the first time. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I believe the shot was officially fired right around 12:22 Utah time, so 2:22 Eastern. And I happened to be up in Salt Lake. I live in Utah County. I happened to be in Salt Lake County doing some work, and got a text message from one of the radio hosts over at K-Talk Radio. Sent out a text, "Hey, Charlie Kirk has been shot." I hopped on X right about the time that I got on X and was seeing I was able to see the video of the shooting. And basically, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I think he's dead. But shortly after that, I got a phone call from you, and you asked me, "Hey, what do you know?" Obviously, I didn't know really any more than you did. Things have changed. We actually had someone who ran for governor, I consider a friend. Phil Lyman was there at the event, and frankly, supposedly where that shot was taken from, he was roughly 20 yards at the most, up on the level right up above the main. It's kind of an amphitheater down. As you look down, look towards his booth, or towards the tent, as you want to call it. When you were looking down, where the shooter would have shot, he was probably just to the right, about 20 feet, and maybe no more than 20 yards away from that spot. And he goes, Phil Lyman's opinion was, he goes, "I don't think that the gun that was retrieved is the gun that shot him. One, two," he goes, "I don't think it was a gunshot that happened up there, but," he goes, "I did hear a bang from behind me and to my left," is what he stated. So, which would have been where supposedly roughly where the shooter was. So, Phil Lyman, I think, puts this very well. So I want to give credit where credit's due. He goes, he woke up a couple days after this, and so he knew Charlie Kirk personally, had met him, interacted with him personally, had personal interactions. In fact, Charlie Kirk had supported Phil Lyman's campaign, and had given his official support for governor of the state of Utah when he ran a couple of years ago, same time as Trump did. And so Phil Lyman was there to introduce him. There's actually video of Phil Lyman interacting with Charlie Kirk right before kind of the cameras went live, when he came out, started tossing hats to the crowd. And then he said he went up to watch it from that point of view, and he goes, it was pretty ruckus. And he goes, one thing that Charlie does is he brings the party with him. And he goes, and he also said the crazies come out. So he said, so back to what Phil Lyman said, he goes, I want to establish two things. He goes, about 3 or 4 days after, he goes, it just hit me. He goes, just dawned on me. He goes, the fact pattern started to not make sense. And he said that, he goes, number one, he goes, I believe Charlie Kirk was killed there in that amphitheater. So, and two, or Charlie Kirk is dead. Number two, Charlie Kirk died of unnatural circumstances. And he goes, from there, he goes, I don't think we have a lot of information. The fact that the governor came out and headed the official first handled and took questions and was kind of the lead person at the press conference after kind of the first big press conference that was given in Utah. Cash Patel was there. The Utah County Sheriff Mike Smith was there. But Spencer Cox took the lead for most of that interaction. And the bottom line is, I shared Phil Lyman and many others. And my first initial thoughts, as soon as I saw that, red flags went off in my mind. Why is the governor handling this as opposed to a police chief? Or, that's kind of the lead is normally taken by law enforcement as opposed to a political figure. I'm going to go into a little bit more of some strange things that happened literally on the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination, with Spencer Cox launching basically, I forget the of the initiative, and if Dwayne can look that up for me, I forget the initiative, but it's basically a social credit score. But I want to go with what your thoughts, what your reaction was. Like I said, you gave me a phone call. I was sitting in the Chick-fil-A, and soon people started. It was very interesting, strange, really strange.
Yeah,
I always like to sit in the back so I can see everything that's going on around me. There was another way of getting out of there. I try to have two areas that I can go out if I need to. But as soon as you and I started talking and I vocalized, I saw the assassination, people started pulling up on their phones. And so that was an interesting experience, really weird. Yeah. But I'm going to just kind of sit back and go, Steve, what are your thoughts? And then there's a few points that we sent back and forth to one another, and let's go through that along with all the other subject matter that we might cover.
Sure. Hold on 1 second here. It's I've been in a very different mood, John, since that day, September 10th. Not my normal self, getting back, but I've been very volatile, very outspoken. A lot of anger built up, and I'm trying to find ways to express that anger in a more positive way. But I got to tell you, it was a shock to me. It was a shock to me that I got the video from a friend, immediately looked at it, watched it, and I said, there's no way he survived that. That was right around the carotid. He must have severed the carotid artery, and there's no way. That's basically the like a hose. If you sever the hose in the middle there, the water pumps everywhere. So basically, you just disrupted the blood flow to the brain and everywhere else. That's a pretty fast death. That's a very immediate death, and I knew that Charlie was dead. The question is why, who's behind it? There's a lot of questions. I know when the FBI typically comes into something like this, of course, they were called immediately to investigate this, and they pretty much pushed the locals out of it altogether. And that's not a good thing, actually, because if you look back in history, every time the FBI intervenes and comes in to investigate, they push out a lot of people, and they come up with their own narrative, and they pretty much stick with that narrative. And anybody who looks outside the box, people like yourself and myself, and anybody on RBN, we would look at the evidence or ask logical questions about this and this. Something that doesn't look right, it's a red flag. We're called conspiracy theorists, and that's for a reason, to basically shut us up, put a label on us to shut us up. Of course, we know the term conspiracy theory goes back to our own CIA shortly after the JFK assassination, to stop the talk about JFK's assassination, leave it at one shooter, and anybody who wanted to know more information or had questions, they were saying pretty much the book is closed, and if you continue to talk about it, well, then you're a conspiracy theorist that you should just take our word for it. I'm sorry, but our government has a very bad track record on telling truth. So people like yourself, myself, We ask the questions. We ask logical questions. My show is based on logic. What's logical? What's a good explanation for this? And when something comes back to me, an answer comes back to me, or it isn't answered, and decidingly they decide to go with a label and call me nasty names or tag me with a conspiracy theorist, right away I know they're hiding something. That's your dead giveaway that somebody's lying and hiding information from you. It's easy to give an answer to a logical question. You simply say, here's your answer. I'm satisfied. I'm happy. I move on. But when they go the other direction, I know they're hiding something. And this case here will be just identical to the JFK assassination. This is my prediction here. My prediction. They will log it down to one shooter only. There's red flags everywhere right now. And they're going to shut those down. They're going to do their little investigation. They might even have a little panel, like a JFK assassination panel for Charlie Kirk. And then they're going to shut this thing down. They're certainly not going to tell us what we should know, what we need to know. I listened to a clip today, and I've been doing so much homework on the Charlie Kirk thing. Matter of fact, I've had 3 entire shows, 2-hour shows each for the last 3 weeks on Charlie. I promise this week I'm doing a show on COVID vaccine injury this Sunday, but I will have to bring in this information I'm going to bring you tonight because it's important information. This kind of puts a little bit more of the pieces of the puzzle together, and you might now understand why Charlie Kirk was actually assassinated, taken out. This clip I picked up today from Candace Owens. We all know who Candace Owens is. Very, very sharp young lady, very conservative, very outspoken. She has a video out today, and basically here's what I heard in the video. I took a lot of notes. Charlie Kirk, weeks before his death, met in the Hamptons, a ritzy little area there, the Hamptons, and evidently he was brought up there for a staged intervention organized by billionaire financier Bill Ackman. Now, Ackman brought a bunch of other people in. There was another person by the name of Seth Dillon who was there. Many others, but nobody else is coming forward. But we know those two were there. And basically what was going on in intervention is that Charlie Kirk had actually changed his narrative, his viewpoint on several things with Israel. Now, he's always been pretty much an Israel firster. That's the only issue I ever had with Charlie Kirk, that we would disagree if I had a chance to talk to him. But I think he was coming to his senses. I think he was finally understanding. He was no longer blinded anymore by Israel, the awe of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu. He started to figure it out. He actually used some derogatory words about Benjamin Netanyahu, calling him a bully and other things. So that relationship was kind of coming apart now. And Charlie was doing his own.
And I want to throw this in. Just a couple days before, he did an interview on his channel with Ben Shapiro. Right. And he had 5 questions for Ben Shapiro that you could say made Ben Shapiro feel a little uncomfortable, and definitely not the type of things that they want Ben Shapiro having to answer. And also, he didn't quite go. I don't think one of those questions is do you believe the narrative of October 7th?
That's right.
But he got close to that.
No, that's actually true. That's one of the things that Charlie changed his mind on, is that he said, I've been to Israel several times and security is amazing. Amazing security. I'm not buying the sneak attack. That's not possible. With the technology they possess and have, satellites, everything you think of, high tech, probably taken from us or stolen from us or given to them. There's no way of the sneak attack. It's impossible. That's it's kind of like the same narrative of 9/11. We allowed that to happen also. And there was an agenda. Actually, what happened was the agenda was, this was in the play for a long time now. Actually, they needed an opportunity. Israel needed an opportunity to go into Gaza and to take Palestine and Gaza for their land. God says it's your land. And so they had a political agenda in the past, and now they had a great opportunity. They can use this sneak attack on Israel here. And now we have the excuse to fight back And of course, you can't steal land, take land away during peaceful times. You have to take it in some kind of chaos or a war. So now we have a war going between Hezbollah, Hamas, and Israel. So they merge in. Of course, they take what they can take. It's theirs. They're never going to give it back. We know that. But Charlie Kirk had finally come to the realization that this lie, this narrative of a sneak attack, there's no possible way. The same way as there was no possible way that we didn't know 9/11 was coming, and we actually had stand down orders from Dick Cheney to intercede and take those planes out. So we allowed it to happen because we had an agenda. America had an agenda. The government had an agenda to get into the Middle East, of course, oil, Afghanistan, and Iraq.
Okay. So Steve, let me jump in on with you with the Dick Cheney stand down order. Okay. All right. Talk with John and Steve Elkins. You guys are just a bunch of crazies. Dick Cheney never gave his stand down order. I want to say it was one of the Podestas, and I want to say it was John Podesta put out in a book that he was in an underground bunker with Dick Cheney, and a Air Force captain, if I remember correctly, came into the bunker and asked 3 times to the vice president, Mr. Vice President, should we launch the F-16s because of a plane that they thought was heading towards Washington. And Dick Cheney, the first 2 times said no. On the first one, he said, "Hey, should we launch F-16s? No, do not launch any F-16s." Second time, my order still stands. And the third time, if I remember correctly, it was the third time, he whipped his head around and he said, "Have I given any order to the contrary?" This is one of Dick Cheney's buddies saying this. And on top of that, another thing so how can you have Osama bin Laden having so much control that he doesn't allow F-16s to take off?
Yeah. No, it's not logical. It's not real. It's not a possibility. It was allowed. This was, as David Ray Griffin said, a new Pearl Harbor. And basically that's what this was, a new Pearl Harbor, allow us to take us into the Middle East. It had to happen. In order for us to go into the Middle East, we could not do it without something happening. So something horrific was carried out, and the United States now had basically an informed consent from the American people to say, react, do something now. Of course, that fear factor always works well. When you tell your country you're being attacked, of course, the response is, well, do something, save us, And so that's what happened there. The whole thing, that was a big whitewash and a lot of corruption, a lot of lies in that. And we've picked that out. And of course, they've closed the books. They've closed the books on that. They will not answer why. How is it possible for Building 7, a building that was not hit by an aircraft, could have a few fires in the building and everything, but that would bring a building down to its footprint? That's impossible. Impossible. So they're telling you the impossible is possible. It's a stroke of luck. I don't know. It's just a miracle that a steel skyscraper with a fire in it could come tumbling straight down to the bottom. Again, we're going to look at the same thing here. The autopsy of Charlie Kirk. Now, this is one of the things that I want. There's so many questions we need to ask. They have to be asked. We need logical answers back. But the autopsy I'm getting now, of course, they have a rifle, a 30-06 bolt action rifle in possession, which was disassembled by the supposed shooter. He escapes, jumps off the roof, takes off, goes into the woods, reassembles the rifle, wraps it up in a blanket. That's not going to happen. Again, they make lots of mistakes when they do these things, when they carry out these things. This is not the right guy. I don't think this is the guy. This is a patsy. He's going to get his 15 minutes of bad fame, but he's going to get that. He'll never get the good fame. So that's one thing. And the bullet, evidently a 30-06, which if you're a hunter, I've been hunting. 30-06 is a pretty good sized bullet. It'll go straight through a deer. And so you hit the fleshy part of a person's neck and the bullet stops and it's lodged in his neck. Impossible. Another impossible thing that they'll tell you is possible. So let's see the bullet. Well, we can't show you the bullet. Why not? We're doing an investigation. We want to see the bullet. Does it match the gun? Can't tell you that. We're doing an investigation. This is what we're getting right now. On top of that, we're getting a lot of evidence, information overload, which is purposeful and by design to confuse you. They're poisoning the well. They're throwing everything at you. All I can tell you is if you're investigating this, doing your own research, your own homework, find credible people to look to find the information. They're out there. And those people, mainstream media doesn't want to talk to them at all because they're asking serious questions, which you should be able to answer. And you can't answer, then there's something fishy here. So going back to this Candace Owens clip here, this was an intervention in the Hamptons that was organized by Bill Ackman here, billionaire Bill Ackman here. Basically, this was a shot over the bow here, trying to get Charlie Kirk back on line here with the official narrative of being a pro-Israel kind of guy here. You've been pro-Israel, and now you're kind of talking in an opposite direction now here. And we're concerned, so we're going to do this intervention in the Hamptons. Bill Ackman and Seth Dillon and a couple others were there, supposed to be comrades and friends, and going to get him back on track again. We're going to get you back on track here. And evidently it didn't go well. There was a lot of shouting, a lot of anger. Bill Ackman, very angry, shouting, and it was an unsuccessful intervention. So Bill
was threatening to take away. So Bill was threatening to take away funding.
Yeah, but
to get other people to take away funding from TPUSA.
Yeah. So they're actually doing very well. I think they have a net worth of about $45 million, TPUSA. So Bill Ackman evidently reports back to the big boss there, Benjamin Netanyahu, and says, "Hey, it was a bad intervention, didn't work." He's still on this narrative here. He's seeing things, and now he's becoming more vocal. Of course, he's got a great following now. All these young people that look up to Charlie and say, "Charlie, what's going on?" Well, Charlie's giving you information, and they're going, "Wow, I'm not supportive of Israel." Well, that's going to go against everything that Netanyahu's doing right now, and that's going to mess up everything he's got planned. Of course, the whole Gaza thing. So, Americans are waking up. They're learning from Charlie Kirk. So Netanyahu puts out the offer to Bill Ackman to tell him, "Hey, send him over to Israel here, a trip to Israel. I want to meet with him and try to do a little schmooze and get him back in line here again to keep following with the narrative, the official narrative for Israel." And Charlie Kirk refused it. He says, I turned down the flight. I'm not going to Israel. He refused the offer to fly to Israel to meet Benjamin Netanyahu. Well, then next step is, okay, so I can't get him here. He's in that mode right now. He's not going to play ball. Let's offer him some money. So they offered him a boatload of cash for Turning Point USA as a donation, millions. Charlie turned it down. All right, now we can't talk good sense to you here. We can't seem to buy you off. So what else do we have to do here? We got to find, if you don't change, we got to carry it out. So that's basically what I see that happened here. It was because he was not following the Greater Israel plan anymore, and he had to go. It also may have been also a warning message to Donald Trump. Of course, Donald Trump already had his two near misses there on assassinations on him. Now Charlie Kirk, who is supposedly close to Donald Trump, who actually probably could be credited with giving him the White House with the young vote. He did a super job of bringing those college kids together and getting those people registered and voting. I think Charlie Kirk had a major player in getting Donald Trump elected the second time around. So now,
I would concur with
yeah.
that.
So Netanyahu's now saying, well, we can't seem to get him back. Something's got to happen here. Charlie had gone wise, somehow, some way had found out that he was no longer blinded. He was actually figuring it out, the whole Gaza thing. All these countries were saying it's genocide inside of Gaza right now. Reporters, over 300 reporters have been assassinated, not accidentally shot, collateral damage stuff. I hate when I hear that word, but actually assassinated, taken out, because we know their thinking would be that they're going to bring the pictures out, the video out, share it with the world. Everybody's going to find out now that what Israel is doing is basically what they've been screaming about back in the days of the Holocaust. Now they're creating their own Holocaust inside Gaza, Gazacost, and now they won't ever be able to use Holocaust ever again to get public opinion and empathy. So this is serious stuff here. The cat is out of the bag, and Charlie had to go. Very sad. It's very sad, but it's actually starting to make sense now that Charlie had come to some senses. His wise understanding that basically Israel was doing genocide, was carrying out mass killings inside, and he no longer wanted to be part of that. But I tell you what, a year ago, before he got assassinated, if you ever heard Charlie Kirk in a speech or anything, he was major pro-Israel. But I think in the last couple of months, his narrative had changed quite a bit to where he now was a liability to the Greater Israel Project. So it means he has to go. Again, this might also be a little warning shot to Donald Trump. Stay in line. And we know Donald Trump is on a short leash with Benjamin Netanyahu right now. He pretty much gives Israel anything they want right now. And it's clear to me, and I think a lot of people in the world now, a lot of world leaders, that Donald Trump is on a short leash, and he has to obey Netanyahu and get what he wants. People might say, well, how's that possible? Well, I think this may actually go back to the Epstein files. There's some serious stuff in the Epstein files that Donald Trump does not want released. And
what do you think that is?
I think you got some major campaign donation people in that on that list who got caught. I mean, this was a blackmail operation by the Mossad.
Do you think percentage? Put it percentage wise. What do you think the percentage of likelihood is? You know, I like to kind of play this do this thought process. I believe. Let me hit this first. I believe eventually the history of the world is going to be revealed to the entire world. It may be after Christ comes when that history of the world is revealed. I mean, like, all the bad things you've done, anybody's ever done, will be revealed, and we will know it. And we will know, especially things that like this. What do you think the likelihood is that Donald Trump was doing something personally that has been reported to have been done, having sex with minors or women against their will?
I would not say comfortably that there'd be a high percentage that Donald Trump did anything personally himself. That's just my own opinion. But he was in the company of other predators who were victimizing young girls and children. And that's nearly almost as bad to be around that and say nothing and give consent and keep going back and forth to the island. That's nearly as guilty as the perpetrator taking advantage of the child. I think there's a good portion of that. That's my thinking right now.
So my understanding is, as of this moment, is Donald Trump never went to Epstein Island.
No, he did go. He did go. We know that. He went. Did he participate? It's different. Did he participate, or was he there?
Now, I know that he was on the plane,
No, he was there.
But I don't know that. My understanding is he did not go there. So you are telling me something that I have not heard anywhere else.
He was at the island. He'd been there. We've seen lots of pictures. The relationship he had with Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, he talked a good game about. We still talking about that creep? Well, that creep, and the birthday card you sent to him, and the pictures, the number of pictures that have surfaced up between Trump and his wife and Maxwell and his girlfriend there. Come on. Tell me
that information is there. Absolutely.
You had a cozy relationship here. Now it's gone south. You must distance yourself from this guy. And that's exactly what he wanted to do. I mean, this list probably has, if you think about what's the purpose, what would the purpose be for the Mossad to have this blackmail operation?
Okay. So can I jump in here real quickly? What my understanding is. So at some point in time, Jeffrey Epstein starts going after girls at Mar-a-Lago, young women under the age of 18 at Mar-a-Lago. I think Donald Trump gets wind of that and calls up and tells Jeffrey Epstein, "You're out of here. You're done. You're gone." And on top of that, he called a prosecutor, I believe it was in that county, and said, "Hey, this is what I know. This is the information I have. Anything else, if you need any other resources, give me a call." That's my understanding of kind of how it came to an end with Jeffrey Epstein's knowledge, with the interaction between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, I mean,
Steve?
let's look at the file. Let's say the file. I mean, they were boasting about the file. Attorney General Bondi was bragging about it. We got the files. Here they are, the files. We have the nice photo shoot there. We're all holding up the files. Says Epstein files on it. Donald Trump says we got the files. They made a lot of promises that in taking down the deep state, a big part of taking down the deep state would be actually finding those people in the Epstein files. They are deep state operatives. Then you take down the deep state. Well, for some reason, that whole narrative quite changed. It just changed all of a sudden. Suddenly, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you still talking about that for, this creep? There's nobody in the files, almost like they don't exist. And he refuses to open them up and let the contents be revealed. That's a clear.
I want to jump on Pan Bounty real
Sure,
quick.
go ahead.
Here's kind of from jump with Pam Bondi. And this is okay. So first of all, I'm going to hit something that bothers me about Donald Trump in general. Basically, the majority of the women that surround him are very attractive women, very attractive, with the exception of the one kind of like the White House, in order to see Donald Trump, who also has worked with Israel. And I want to say she worked with Benjamin Netanyahu. I can't remember, but she's in her she's around in her 50s. She's the only female within any of the cabinet, or even the women that really work closely with him or for him, that is not attractive. The rest of them are very attractive women. One, two, but Pam Bondi specifically, she was the Florida Attorney General.
She was.
Why? And I believe when there was information floating around that Jeffrey Epstein was doing this, I know Jeffrey Epstein was doing the stuff that he was doing, and she didn't do anything about it. There's no way that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't on her radar, and she had done nothing about it so far. So it was not a surprise to me that she came out and basically shut that thing down.
Yeah. There's you gotta ask yourself, what was the purpose behind this whole thing? Well, the Mossad, of course, which is the Israeli CIA, in the business of blackmailing prominent, well-to-do people, billionaires, millionaires, billionaires, prominent people, even people in Hollywood, of course, that you got to remember who controls all these different sectors. We know who controls those. So very influential, but if you can't buy people off, what do? You blackmail them. So let's set them up in these situations. We'll have cameras and rooms. We'll set them up, and maybe the girls were portrayed as being 18 and older when they weren't. But setting up the John there, I guess, setting him up to be blackmailed at a later time. I mean, you want to blackmail prominent people who have the influence to make policy in politics. A number of things you can do. So it was a very successful operation. I believe it was also. I believe the Mossad, Israeli Mossad, and our own CIA were doing this also working together to blackmail prominent judges. You name it. Anybody who had influence to make change in politics or go along with the agenda. You had to keep them in line here. So if you can't buy them off, you bribe them or blackmail them. And pretty much that's what we had here with the Epstein files. Of course, when we had Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, of course, non-government employees at the time saying, yes, Epstein was killed inside a prison. They used that old term. He was Epstein. He was killed inside a prison. We know that can happen. We know people inside can be given information to get contact, take him out, because this guy had too much information to take down people. if he decided to cut a deal with the government and with these files here, he may spill a lot of names. Can't have that happen. He's got to be taken out. So Dan Bongino and Kash Patel changed their narrative after becoming government employees. And the reason I could see the lie automatically when they spoke the words, when they said that Jeffrey Epstein had killed himself, hanged himself with his bed sheets, the paper bed sheets in his own cell. I could tell they were lying. They were looking down, looking away from the guys who said he was killed inside a prison to shut him up, now to say, yeah, he killed himself. There's many things that point to the cover-up, all the lies being told now, the flipping the script, and you know there's something here. There's something very meaty with the Epstein files, and Donald Trump still not wanting to release those files. He actually is doing great damage to the MAGA movement. Now, there's two MAGA movements, John. There's the MAGA movement where you and I are in, Make America Great Again, and there's a cult MAGA, which follows Trump, and everything that Trump does is great. It's good. We're okay with it. They are the neocons, the neoconservatives, the warmongers, the guys who cheat on every occasion they can to get away with it. Those are the different kind of MAGA. I don't even think they're MAGA. I just call them cult members, Trump cult members. But that's what we're dealing with right there. And so, again, Donald Trump's second presidency, I said, man, he's got a great opportunity, John. He's got a great opportunity to do some great things. He talked a good game to get the job. Now he's got the job, and he takes off running pretty good about the illegal thing, except he bit off way too much in making that boasting comment. I'm going to get all of the illegals out of this country, which is about 33 million illegals in this country. I'm going to get them all out. You'll have to apply to get back in. Impossible. Do the math. 4 years. How many million per year? 8 million per year. Nah, it's not going to happen. He bit off way too much. He promised too much. He's flipped back, gone against some of the promises he gave us. Nobody wants war. Nobody wants war. I want to be the president that stops war, brings peace, fair trade, commerce. I can't tell you, John, so many screw ups in the first 8 months. I have a report card for Donald Trump, and I'm going to probably go through it every year, check it off. Good. Did he do good? Did he do bad? I got to say he's on a downward turn right now with his tariff war that's gone terrible for America, inflation high, this AI, artificial intelligence. Everybody's saying, oh, great, gung-ho for the AI. Do you realize that AI, artificial intelligence, is going to remove a lot of jobs? A lot of jobs. These kids are going to get out of school. They have degrees. They'll be replaced with artificial intelligence or cheap foreign labor. This is a serious situation. He's got so many problems, John, and we're not even the first year through yet.
Okay, I want to come back to that. Let's come back to Trump. Let's pause on Trump for the moment, because I want to get back to Charlie Kirk a little bit, and so there's been a few times. A couple weeks ago, I was in Sanpete County. It's about 2.5 hours south of Salt Lake City. Just out there, I was doing some conducting business, and somebody walked up. A guy looked at me and he goes, "How you doing, John?" And I was like, "What?" And I was like, all of a sudden, I started going through the reels in my mind and going like, "How do I know his face? I don't know I can't put a face." Men, usually, if I can picture your face, I can put a name with it. Women, I have a lot more difficult. I have a very hard job of remembering women's names that I haven't interacted with for several years. For some reason, my dad says it's a gift. But the bottom line is, I was like, I don't know. And he goes, "Okay, John, I can tell that you don't." He goes, "You don't know me. I know you. The reason why I know you is just because I've seen your shows on Talk with John." I was like, "Oh, wow." I was kind of blown away. And so we were able to carry on a conversation, he and I, back and forth. And this is something that I want to bring up. If someone was ever to meet Steve Elkins, they in a big way know you. If someone ever comes across me in that scenario, in a big way, they know me. We knew Charlie Kirk in a big way. We may not have had an individual relationship with him back and forth. He may not know us, but we know him, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, one thing I want to talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk. I want to talk about a couple of things, not only surrounding, we've covered a little bit of I think we've established this. You and I do not believe the narrative.
No, not at all.
The difficulty is on this is who done it. It's right now. It's a little difficult to figure that out. We need to do a better job of finding out who's involved in the cover up. But there's also some good things in a way that I'm going to say came out of the Charlie Kirk assassination to some extent. Not a ton. I wish Charlie Kirk was still here for his family, for him, for all of us. I wish Charlie Kirk was still here, but he's not. And so one of the things that was good over the last several weeks is there has been a revival of people just being willing to take a stand for their Christian values. And I think that's been a good thing. I think Charlie Kirk would be very pleased with that. I want to say like 10 more million people went to church the Sunday following Charlie Kirk's passing. Do you have to go to church to be a good Christian? That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that I believe by people doing that, they are coming to a level of, it's I want to go and be with others as we talk about God, as we talk about Jesus Christ. And I think that was one thing that Charlie Kirk tried to do basically in all of his interactions. Someone would come at him from the liberal stance. In fact, he even started doing this when he was literally shot. The guy started talking about, well, what about these mass shootings? So, transgender shootings, and then he went to mass shootings, and he's like, well, what kind of mass shootings are you talking about? Are you talking about gang shootings as well? So he would dive down, and then he would actually bring in Christian principles.
Sure.
And so I think that those reels coming out, and then I've got a 16-year-old son. He and I never talk politics.
You should.
He's a football player.
You should.
He's a football player. Well,
no, you really should. This is the time you should be kind of getting him interested in asking questions. This is the time.
Well, okay. So he and I don't talk politics, and it's kind of dad talks politics all the time. And it's not that I don't want to, but I don't force it on. Do I bring principles, and do I bring principles in? But I don't talk. I guess a better way to put it is I don't constantly talk politics with him like I might a number of other people like you and I, right? Do I talk about principles, correct principles? Absolutely. But I was blown away. He said, Dad, he goes, he told me right after the Charlie Kirk shooting, he was like, Dad, I'm having a real hard time. He goes, I used to watch Charlie Kirk a fair amount. He goes, and he's a football player. He's a captain on his football team as a junior. And he said the coaches kind of paused with the guys and said, let's talk a little bit about what happened and how we should handle it. And we're a team and we handle things together. And he goes, John, I started to talk to a bunch of the guys and come to find out I think he was the most influential person of my generation.
Yeah, I think you're correct. Actually, and I think Charlie progressed on and not been assassinated. I think Charlie would have probably gone and run for office. Probably would have been maybe a Senate, maybe have gone a governor, maybe definitely. I think at some point in time, he would have probably thrown his hat in the ring for president of the United States. He just had that. He just had that look. He also had the education, and to my knowledge today, I mean, I hear a lot of people, talking about Christ and their Bible and everything, and being able to throw all the biblical passages out there and everything. I've never heard anybody outside of Charlie Kirk. I've never heard anybody who could decipher and go into the Bible and read the Bible and just top of his head pull out scripture. And I'm going, wow, he could do that with scripture in the Bible, and he could also do it with the Constitution. This one of the smartest guys I've ever come across. And I'm got to look up stuff, and he's just the top of his head. Boom, there it is. He was very influential. I think he had a promising future in politics, and it's sad.
I don't think there's any question that he would have eventually been president of the United States. Yeah. I think that he would have eventually been drafted. There's the term drafted, where people come to you and say, "Will you please run?" Right. Sure. I think he probably had a little bit of an aspiration for it, maybe, but the bottom line is I absolutely think he was going to eventually. In fact, I think there's a very good chance that J.D. Vance was going to ask Charlie Kirk to run as his vice president.
Well, to be honest with you, I think I would not take that offer, and I would have said, no, I'm running against you. I think Charlie Kirk would make a better president than J.D. Vance. Personally, am I personally speaking? But I also can think that
I won't disagree with that. I won't disagree.
I could say that I think for those who left the church, I think a lot of people have come back to church, and maybe even some first timers through the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So that would make Charlie smile. Knowing people came back to Christ who left.
No, there were a lot of people. So the numbers of people coming for the first time were very significant as well.
And also the number of chapters for his Turning Point USA on the campuses
have exploded.
We're 800 plus, and they're getting applications all the time. So I see that to grow also. And that also is if you have the person that takes over for Charlie, hopefully he'll have the same enthusiasm and the same, information to bring on his tour to carry on with Turning Point USA and the stamina, then, you're going to see that population of students grow also who support Turning Point USA. And, that's, again, we mentioned earlier on that the young people in this country here are pulling away their support from Israel now. That's not a good thing because they're the future. And of course, Israel's thinking about their future, and to keep these people pretty much brainwashed and indoctrinated that Israel is the landowner entitled to that land in Gaza and Palestine, and it belongs to them. And, if you have a young population growing up and saying that's not true and questioning everything now, well, that's not going to go well for the future of Israel. So actually what I understood also in that interaction there in the Hamptons there, that what do they call that intervention, that he was also advising Benjamin Netanyahu how to repair the damage of his reputation and the Jewish reputation. He was giving advice which didn't go over well either. I think I would like to have been the fly on the wall on that.
So my understanding is Bill, I believe it was Bill Ackman, called Benjamin Netanyahu during that interaction and got him on, so Benjamin Netanyahu was on the phone during that interaction. So yes.
Yeah. The intervention was a failure, a total failure. And Benjamin Netanyahu thought maybe by chance, if you come to Israel, I can kind of get you back and bring you back into the loop here of how we're supposed to be and keep the narrative. You got to stay with our narrative. If you go outside our narrative, there's going to be problems here. Again, that huge following that Charlie Kirk had. Can't lose that following, You can't, you got to keep them on board with the Greater Israel Project. And it did not work. It did not work. Like I said, the chapters for Turning Point USA, they're getting applications all the time. And that's a good thing for Turning Point USA. It's a bad thing for
not only
Israel.
In the colleges, in the high schools.
Yes, I believe they are
as well.
Right. So
another thing that I find very interesting that we got to figure out what was going on is all the online chatter happening that Charlie Kirk was going to be assassinated on the 10th, the day beforehand, with all the different groups on the left. So the left is loving, I'm going to say is revealing who they are. and loving the fact that Charlie Kirk was assassinated and treating it as a very positive thing. Goes to show just how demonic so many of those people are. I never have remembered. So when the I want to say it was a state senator up in Michigan was assassinated by, come to find out, they initially tried to say that he was a right-wing person. Some of that actually happened to be within the crazy vice presidential nominee of Kamala Harris, the governor up there, happened to work for him. The shooter happened to work for the governor there. Bottom line is that guy was a left-wing liberal. I never heard anybody say, how happy that they were on the right. I didn't see anywhere that.
No. Character really does matter, John. And we saw the true character of many, many people. And I'm glad some of these corporations fired people for being jubilant and saying that the cruel things that they said. A celebration of the death of Charlie Kirk. I may not like somebody, I may not like a certain Democrat, but if they're killed in cold blood like that, I'm not going to celebrate. I may disagree with them on so many things. I may just totally dislike them, but I would not celebrate their death. And these people came out on their social media and boasting and bragging and celebrating and was like, what a great thing happened. The same also with the shooting of death in the back of the CEO from the healthcare. True character is being revealed now, John. So people, your listeners out there, pay attention to those people around you who feel like this, who like to celebrate something like this, because they are people you do not want to befriend. They are people you cannot trust. You should never be in their association, in their friendships, and leave it at that. I don't want to be associated and befriending anybody who celebrates this death here. We have a woman that lost her husband. We have 2 children that will not see their father ever again in this lifetime. Lives have been shattered. Colleagues, or lots of people are affected by the death of Charlie Kirk, and to go out there and celebrate it. What kind of person are you? I'm glad they got fired, to be honest with you. Think about it. I worked in healthcare for 29 years. If I had a doctor who came out and celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and he's in healthcare, well, do I think he values life? Well, he values some lives, and some lives he probably doesn't value. So what kind of physician, what kind of surgeon are you going to be if you have that attitude right now and that belief? I don't want you operating on me.
Absolutely.
So there's, and a teacher the same way, who's influential with the students to preach and celebrate something. Now, what do your kids get from that? You're very influential as a teacher. Again, good riddance, fire them. You made your bed, now lie in it. Tough.
Okay. I want to pause for just a moment. Since we're at the top of the hour, pretty much 2 minutes after the top of the hour, I do want to mention, folks, you are watching and listening to KMMU Main Street Media, Utah. We're live on X, Rumble, YouTube, and our website, kmmu.org, is the place you can go to. I'm going to ask folks, share this with your friends, share this conversation with your friends. Steve Elkins knows a lot, has been in the fight for a very long time, as you can tell, and is well studied in it. We have a lot of great shows, a lot of great hosts, and please go there, subscribe and like these on those different platforms, and hit the notification bell for your favorite hosts, so that you can get notifications whenever one of our hosts have put up a new show, so you can view it. So once again, we're here with Steve Elkins. He is a host on Republic Broadcasting Network. He does a show every Sunday live from 7 to 9 p.m. And then Mondays, you still do Monday shows on RBN as well, right?
I hosted the National Intel Report on Mondays with Ron McDonald. We did that for 2 years and 1 month, and then came to the understanding of the agreement that we would retire the show in John's memory. And so the National Intel Report is no more. It's we put that one to rest, and
Okay.
a great time doing it. I enjoyed it, and we still remember John, even though the show is not there anymore. He's the founder of Republic Broadcasting Network. He was the main flagship, and he was great to work with, and some great memories there. But we are moving on in a good direction here, and bringing a lot of good information out there.
I still consider him a great mentor.
Oh yeah.
Whenever a number of these incidences happen, I'm like, I guarantee you, right about the same time you called me, if John Stadmiller was still alive, he'd be giving me a call saying, "What do you know, John?"
Yeah, he would have. Yeah.
Is there anything you know? And I want to get to a few more things with the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Sure.
Something that really disconcerted me and has me scratching my head and going, "What in the world's going on?" is when Spencer Cox, the governor of the state of Utah, led the press conference. He has, and on that same day, he launched a initiative for and I'm going to make sure I pull it up. I believe it's called a Dignity Index. And that is, he launched that in cooperation with Unite, a national nonprofit called Unite, UNITE. It's a partnership with also the University of Utah. And what it proposes is to measure the level of competent or dignity in public discourse and promote respectful communication. Basically, can you say social credit score is what it's trying to initiate. That's being initiated on the day that Charlie Kirk was shot. Charlie Kirk was not a big supporter of Spencer Cox.
No.
And when Phil Lyman told me that, it blew my mind and sent a shiver down my spine. Spencer Cox was the main person at that press conference, even more so than Kash Patel. Now, frankly, Kash Patel, if he really wanted, if he was really good in the FBI and a good FBI director, would say, he would have announced, my good friend Charlie Kirk was shot.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure behind scenes, everything that possibly can be done. We're going to give all the resources we can. I'm going to make sure the FBI has all of the resources we possibly can. And we're going to help the state of Utah figure out what happened. But I need to step back and remove myself, because let's just say the narrative was true that Tyler Robinson was the shooter.
Yeah.
If you want to make sure that man actually receives the death penalty, you've got to step back, because at that moment you're causing problems for a prosecution, and especially for appeals.
Yeah. Something else I want to mention real quick here. My last little page of the Charlie Kirk, the Candace Owens video. Maybe your listeners don't understand this, but I'm going to explain as best I can.
Please do.
That typically, if you're like me, I put you in the same situation, my shoes, you talk to your wife, you have problems, something's bothering you at work. Sometimes you talk to your wife, or maybe another family member, but you talk to your wife and you bounce the problem off her, looking for either comfort, maybe a solution, maybe another perspective, another way to go about fixing the problem. And you talk to your spouse. And I think most men do. They talk to their wives about what's going on. Well, of course, Turning Point USA was huge. It was a pretty good sized organization. It was growing. I understand Erica Kirk was very much involved in Turning Point USA. It's her husband's career. It's his life's goal. It's his career. It would be also her career, also being the wife. There's a term called the dead man switch. And the dead man switch in this situation here, going back to the intervention in the Hamptons that did not go well, and Bill Ackman getting very angry and shouting, and threats were made that night. of course, calls to Israel, and then trying to get him to turn back and come back to the agenda here, come back to our narrative here. It wasn't working out. At that point, I would think that Charlie Kirk would say, you know, these people in this room here, I thought were my friends or not my friends. I'm going to be, I'm very skeptical now. You got to keep an eye on them. Now I'm a little worried for my own safety of my wife, my family. I'm a little worried now about my own safety. So at that point, you know, you tell your wife, you may do a dead man switch. You may write it in a letter. You may put it somewhere and give it to one person you can trust. You may make several dead man switch letters and give them to several people in the event that you're dead.
What is done nowadays is they're given to several people or
several people.
Yeah.
And in the event that he died, the letter goes out and hopefully gets in the right hands. And it gives an idea, speculates, it tells you if something happens to me, be looking at these people. Threats were made, be looking at these people. And that's a smart thing to do, to actually have several dead man switches. I wonder if they're out there, John. And I'm wondering if they will finally surface, or those holding the dead man switch letters have looked at them already and have been intimidated and are very fearful now of those people involved in his shooting, his assassination, now worried that they could be next. That's your problem here. Your dead man switch has to be trustworthy enough to say, I will get it out there and let it be known. And we will get the right people who did this to you. There could be several out there. They have not surfaced yet. May take time. I don't know. Maybe they're letting it cool down a little bit. Then one surfaces, or maybe even Erica Kirk has one. But at that point, she'd also be worried about her own safety, her own safety for her own children. So the dead man switch doesn't always work, but sometimes it really does.
I would be surprised if Charlie Kirk put it out. I think Candace Owens is putting two and two together and talking about it, but I don't think it's part of a dead man switch. I don't think he had a dead man switch on that. I don't know.
I would have. Personally, I would have.
Well, your understanding of
I've had threats before.
What Israel is willing to do, I think, was even on a deeper understanding and higher level,
right?
Than what Charlie Kirk's was. I don't know that Charlie Kirk understood that Israel would be willing to, quote unquote, take out good friends. I'm not 100% sure Israel is involved in this. Would it surprise me? And here's another thing about the Israelis.
Right.
They're good enough at doing things. Now, okay. Let me finish this thought, and then I'm gonna almost like totally destroy my thought. Israel is good enough that they can do something and they can hide it and no one will ever know.
Sure.
Well, and we'll leave and we'll do it. So I could see, in theory, Israel could go and find a Tyler Robinson that has been wound up.
Sure.
And that has and make sure that he's part of some group, some leftist group. They wind that group up and they find someone to do it. Do I believe that Israel is totally capable of doing that? Sure.
Yeah.
And so it really muddies the water, and it's hard to know 100% that they were involved.
Yeah. Well, even our own CIA, John, does that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
so I mean, look, they look over the social postings of what these people do. They find the troubled guy, the loner, the kid. They pick these people. They program them. They give them money. They give them this and that. They give them the weapons, push them in that direction, set them up. It's called the patsy. Yeah. If Mossad does it, our own CIA does it, and that's how they conduct their business. That's for the betterment of the United States. They'll do that in their brainwashed thinking that it's the best thing to do.
Okay, so I can't remember if you're familiar with the individual Joel Skousen.
Yeah, actually, I met Joel. I knew his sister. I worked with his sister. Yeah.
Okay. So Joel Skousen just yesterday was on the Alex Jones show, but also put out in his World Affairs brief. Very interesting how the state of Utah, especially within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it's it makes the world very small.
Mhm.
I believe his home is in Washington County. Tyler Robinson's apartment that he was living with his boyfriend
Mhm.
is in the same church congregation as Joel Skousen. Someone that Joel Skousen knows fairly well happens to be a ward member and live in the ward of Tyler Robinson's parents. And Joel Skousen, so folks, World Affairs Brief, go to worldaffairsbrief.com for this. But and I'll be having him on in 2 weeks, and I guarantee you we're going to talk about it. He, in fact, I think the shooting happened the day after I had him on. But Joel said that he goes, I'm not believing the story. There's too many questions. I don't believe the story. And he goes, I'm not even believing the narrative that there were a bunch of vehicles at Tyler Robinson's house before it happened. He goes, I've talked to people that live right by him and did not see those vehicles.
Right.
That is part of the narrative.
Sure.
And so I think as the next month comes out, I think we're going to start getting a lot more clarification of, clarity on what happened and what didn't happen. How much his detail may or may not have been a part of this. Come to find out, it wasn't the detail, according to Joel, the detail that was involved in the security detail were not Israeli Mossad or Israeli people. They were within their different group. So it'll be interesting to see what happened. Let's see. Michael Yon doesn't believe it and has real questions. He goes, I'm seeing a bunch of, what looks like right after the shooting happens, he goes, it looks really well coordinated, and it looks like they're starting to scrub the scene right as they're going towards the body. So he goes, just some really weird things were happening. And that's part of Green Beret Special Forces training, which Michael Yon is, reporter Michael Yon. He's former Green Beret, and he's a reporter, kind of typically in war correspondent area type individual. But he's like, yeah, I don't buy it. And then I've got a source right now, but one of the sources that somebody that I get good information from often, he goes, John, he goes, I have a very high, he goes, I think there's a very good likelihood that Israel is involved in this.
Yeah, I do too.
So,
yeah, I do too.
And I'm
makes common sense. I mean, the Candace Owens a clip, if you go find it yourself, watch it, please watch it. She talks about the intervention up in the Hamptons, and it did not go well. And that was a couple weeks prior to his assassination. So again, these are pieces of the puzzle. Something happened, and there was a change of attitude. There was a reason to take him out, not just some lone guy says, I hate Charlie Kirk. That's not believable. Sorry. There are leading events up to his assassination. And that actually fits more of a logical explanation.
One of the main things
that went bad
is Charlie Kirk was starting to question October 7th.
Yes.
If you can get someone to question October 7th,
yeah,
everything starts to fall apart with Israel.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so here, one of the things I want to mention also that Michael Yon brought up with Special Force with Israel and specifically October 7th, he's like, I've been over in Israel. I've been with the Israeli Defense Force.
Yeah.
He goes, it takes 4 minutes to get a cold helicopter up in the air. And this is something I've tried to ask within my network to try to find out. There is one person that I haven't reached out to that I really need to that might know. But I want to know how long it would take. Let's say that something like that happened in the United States. And I'll tell you why October 7th worries me so much is I think that's going to happen in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to have an October 7th type event. And I want to know how long it would take. Here in the state of Utah, we have an airport in the Salt Lake County Valley. In the Salt Lake Valley, there's an airport where the Utah Guard has a bunch of Apache helicopters. I want to know how long from them finding out there's a bunch of firing going on, military members, say like from China or Hamas built-in members, right? Some yeah. All of a sudden we have China soldiers pop up and start doing things, or Hamas individuals come out and start doing the same things that they were doing October 7th. How long would it take them to outfit, fuel, and get an Apache helicopter in the air? I guarantee you it wouldn't take 7 hours. And according to Michael Yon, he said it would take them they have the helicopters set up the cold 4 hours, 4 minutes up in the air. And he goes, there were bases less than a 10-minute flight away from, and he goes, I don't even think that the helicopters would get up to full speed before they would have been there where the October, where they came across the border.
You're absolutely correct. You're using logic. You have these response teams all in place for a reason. Our military is everything's kind of set up to be a quick response, to get your planes in the air to fight the enemy if you have to. And
in Israel, that's the way they have it. They don't have that. They don't have it here in the United States that I'm aware of. There is not.
No, they do. They do. I was in the military, my Air Force base. You're on call and you're right there. And if they tell you, as a matter of fact, I can tell you offhand for 100% sure, I've seen it happen as we had to get our planes off the ground really fast because we had bad weather coming in. And I've never seen so many big planes on my Air Force base take off so dang fast, get in the air and make it to safe before the tornado came and destroyed my base. We saved a lot of planes. Some of them we didn't because they were we'd taken parts off them to fix other planes, and now we were waiting on back order for parts. So what didn't get off the base couldn't get off the base, but everything it could. I mean, my base was a good sized base. We had fighters, we had tankers, we had all kinds of planes, and those planes were on their way to California or some other base. Then we just waited and watched the tornado just tear the heck out of our base. I mean,
okay. So how long did it take from the phone call to get those planes up in the air? And do they, okay. So here's a question.
Yeah.
And maybe you can't say this. I don't want you to say something that that you're not allowed to say, right?
No, good.
I don't want you to do that, but were they already fueled? Do they keep these planes partially fueled, fully fueled?
They're fueled. They're fueled, ready to go. Yep.
Okay. So how long did it take from the word go to start getting planes in the air? How long did it take?
I'd say, well, with the bigger planes like the C-5 Galaxy, which I was a crew chief on, once you get the order and the team is on the site, boom, okay, get on the plane, fire it up. You remove the chocks, block it out. It hits the runway. I'd say a C-5 all lined up, several of them, like 7 or 8 lined up behind each other, one after the other taking off. Starting at 30 minutes, that C-5 Galaxy should be up in the air in 30 minutes. And then 5 minutes later, the other one and the other one. The checklist is followed really fast, expedited, and your planes are in the air. That's a C-5 Galaxy because that's a big pig. That's a big ass airplane.
That is a huge plane.
It is huge. And then the C-141's even faster than that. And of course, the T-37s, T-38s, the fighter planes, the KC-135s can get up fast. But the biggest one and the most time consumption would probably be with that C-5 Galaxy. And to be honest with you, depending on what's coming, they might skip through the checklist even faster than you've ever seen before to get it in the air and get it out of the way. Typically, it would probably take you 45 minutes to an hour. But if you're told that the bad weather's at Tinker Air Force Base, which is only not too far away from where I was in Altus, get these planes off the ground now and get them out because it's probably going to be in direct pathway. And we're going to have millions and millions of dollars of damaged aircraft here if we don't get it in the air. So the C-5 Galaxy would be your hardest one, the longest time, but I think they could probably do it.
Okay. The other question I have is, and you may or may not know this, and I'm assuming it's pretty much the same thing with rotary wing, helicopters as opposed and attack helicopters as opposed to fighter jets.
Yeah.
How long does it take? How long does it take them to get the missiles, the ammunition on board, and to get them in the air?
Get them in the air is pretty. You could get them in the air pretty fast. The armament
loaded
team
out so they can actually.
To get it loaded with the weapons, if you had it sequenced right, they probably do these drills all the time using phony bombs and stuff and time them. If you're on call and they gave the order and it's armed, I think that'd be pretty fast. Actually, boom, it's right there. They're loaded on, they're ready to go. And then your pilot's there, co-pilot. I would say you could get him. I would say you get it in the air between 30 and 40 minutes.
I think it would be very safe to say that within 45 minutes to an hour of getting the phone call, I'm going to say, long as the pilots are on base somewhere.
Well, they always are. That's where they are. They can sleep right there. If you're on call, you're on call. You sleep there close to your plane in the quarters there. So that's why I'm saying, and the first call comes to him, and then the call goes to the where they have the weapons center and said, you're needed out on spot so-and-so, get it loaded, fully loaded. It's already gassed up, ready to go. So now you just got to get your pilot and co-pilot to get out there and flight it up, suit it up and out there. And then your weapons are already loaded on. It shouldn't, I mean, if it's done in sequence, as I think it should be and pretty fast, you're not calling somebody and somebody's having to drive a ways to get to the base to get to their plane. You live on base. And if you're on call, you're right there near your plane. So it's pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, so my point is, and not only that, from one end of like Israel to the other end of Israel, it's only in like an hour flight time to go across all of Israel.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually some of those, if they're in the hangar and they're protected under guard, they got guards everywhere, MPs everywhere. Some of those choppers, I would assume, are actually already armed.
That's what
they're armed in the hangar, and they just push loaded. Yeah, they're fully loaded. They're in the hangar. They push them out. Pilot's there, co-pilot, go.
Well, my understanding is in Israel, Israel, 100% of the time, they have planes fully loaded, or they have aircraft that is fully loaded, fully outfitted at all times, ready to get in the air. Yeah. Sometimes they even have the pilot sitting in the planes for an hour or two when there is any suspicion that something might be happening.
Yeah.
So I'm just going. So what I'm doing is kind of the mental work of how long would this take to get up. Just the whole narrative doesn't make any sense, especially when you have retired generals go from one end of the Israel to go to those, and had to make 2 stops to help other people to get where his own family was at. It took him like 4 hours to drive there, a retired general. I mean, that's one of the hero stories that we're told about October 7th. Yeah. Well, if that's happening, where's the military guys? Where's your special forces? Yeah. Where's just general guys? I mean, I'm sorry, you get the helicopters in the air. Yeah. You hear people are coming across. You get those helicopters in the air in half an hour. You're there.
Yeah.
We know what it's like to have like an Apache helicopter. They just shred people. They shred people apart.
By the way, have you ever mentioned the Hannibal Directive? Did you ever talk about the Hannibal Directive?
I'm not aware. Okay, so I'm aware of the Samson option, but the Hannibal Directive, it's like one of those things that's kind of like way in the back of my head.
The Hannibal Directive is an Israeli operation. Rather than see your citizens taken hostage, they'll kill their own citizens to prevent them being taken hostage.
Yes,
and we know Israel did that on November 7th. We've proven that. We've had plenty of people come forward, and they actually didn't deny it. They say it's better to do that than have them taken and maybe even tortured or taken hostage. So they'll kill their own citizens under the Hannibal Directive. So that's pretty serious. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of those people they claimed were killed in the surprise attack were simply killed and blamed on the other side, their Hamas. So it's called the Hannibal Directive.
Okay, so I want to get to also, I do want to get back to Trump, see if we can get back to Trump and
Sure.
Netanyahu's party meeting the other day.
Okay.
I also want to talk about Trump's and Bobby Kennedy's press conference that happened, I believe it was last Monday. That's something that I would put, I would say Trump might be starting to move in a good direction. Want your thoughts on?
Okay. I mean, what part are you talking about here? What direction? In what aspect?
There was a press conference where they started talking about Tylenol, but they also started talking about autism, the causes of autism, and they were talking about the quote unquote shots that kids are taking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I can give you a good comment on that, and I'm coming away with that on is pointing a finger of blame to somebody else, so the people in the vaccine industry get a free pass. That's how I see that one, John.
Okay, of Tylenol specifically, I agree.
Yeah,
but my thought is we're starting to see good movement that it's even being mentioned at all. All right.
Well, our Surgeon General down here, Joseph Ladapo, actually saw him Saturday. Can't get close to that guy. He's got security like crazy. But I went to a conference down here in Central Florida. Great, got some great information. Matter of fact, that's going to be probably a good portion of my show on Sunday. The vaccine damage, the harm, and what can be done. What are we doing now? So some great information. Also, a book I got, which was narrated. The foreword was by Dr. Peter McCullough, who you and I have interviewed before. Some great information coming on Sunday on that, so you can check that out. But Dr. Ladapo is moving in the direction, and I agree 100% with him, that this messenger RNA technology needs to be eliminated, abolished altogether. There are no successes with this messenger RNA. It's a Franken-science right now, and it should be aborted, all completely aborted. No vaccines with messenger RNA. Go back to the live attenuated viruses if you're going to do a vaccine. And by golly, just bring down the number you have to give children.
And
it's
get
ridiculous.
Rid of the aluminum out of the shots and the mercury out of the shots.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The thimerosal has been taken out.
Let's hit the pause button. Okay. I don't think we should really spend much time covering it but I'm just going to say, folks, this is something we need to pay attention to.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen a ton of shootings that have happened recently by the left. In fact, as of before, there was a shooting on a school shooting the same day that happened when Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Colorado. Yeah. Before that, the last 9 school shootings have been carried out by transgender people.
Yeah.
I believe that many of them were amped up by the CIA. Now, was it directly the CIA? No, they always use some cutout company to do that type of stuff with. But last weekend, there were 2 separate shootings of former or of ex-Marines, I guess is the proper term, not non-active Marines. One in North Carolina that I believe killed 3 people. And then the shooting up in Michigan of the ward from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm trying to find out. I may have a connection to that. But the Marine shot and killed 4 people, set the building on fire. According to one of my, what's the proper term? A guy that I trust that has always given me good information said, hey, there was help because he had explosives in that truck that didn't wind up exploding. And he goes, that would have been a lot bigger and a lot more damage. And he's like, I'm not exactly sure why it didn't happen. But we had, and so all of a sudden red flags are going on in my head. Something's happening. I'm saying some faction of the government or deep state is starting to get the conservatives to go crazy right now, because the news story is, for at least the Marine up in Michigan, he was a Trump supporter. Now, according to my source, he said actually the family is saying that he was starting to be radicalized by Islam. But and we'll see what comes to bear out. So I'm just going to say, pay attention to this, folks, because that's when you really need to start worried, is when we start getting, what are they doing and trying to get things to happen with the vets coming out and shooting people.
Well, you know, now you've got on the agenda now, you can always talk about your Second Amendment, and you know, the left wants to take away the firearms or wants to remove your Second Amendment rights. So every time you get a school shooting, that topic always seems to come up again. We need more legislation. We need more legislation, little by little chipping at it just to take it away completely. But I think something else we had to look at also with these shootings also, in the transgenders, there have been quite a few transgenders that have flipped out and gone on a shooting rampage here. We should probably be looking at the hormone blockers and the hormone therapy that these people are taking, which I believe changes their whole psychological profile. It brings on rage. Well, I mean, you're talking about going against the grain here of what God gave us, you know, and we're going to change that.
I can virtually guarantee you, with all these shootings, including these Marines, $10, I'm willing to bet a significant amount of money that those guys were on some form of Prozac type drugs.
Yeah. That was my next point here. If you watch TV enough, you see the area of psychiatric growing leaps and bounds on TV. All the commercials on TV, the people on the beach, you know, the woman holding the little sign, little smiley face, but it's not smiley, it's a frown sign now. Depression and bipolar disease is growing very fast. And big pharma is putting a lot of drugs out there. You know, your SSRIs, your selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. A lot of those people are on those drugs are actually very, very violent. But they're not looking into that because that's huge business, John. That's
a lot of money. That's
a lot of money in psychiatric medications. That is huge. But we should be looking at that.
Anytime that is even touched, they shoot that down even faster than they shut down the vaccines.
That's right.
Talk.
Yep. Yeah. And also your FBI is monitoring those social media platforms, looking for that loose cannon, that lost kid, the kid that could be easily taken in and manipulated and brainwashed. And who knows, I wouldn't be surprised if they still have MK Ultra still going on, John. I would not be surprised.
It's not MK Ultra, but it's the great grandchild of MK Ultra.
I would not be surprised. Would not be surprised the least if they're still doing those things. And maybe somebody could carry out some terrible, terrible act, a shooting, and then
how many
never know they did
shooters, it. How many shooters have connections that go directly back to the CIA, Defense Department? How many of them, especially are like the Batman shooting? He up in Colorado. Yeah. His father was deeply involved. I want to say it was in he was a psychologist for the Defense Department.
Right.
And you know, a number of these individuals, their parents are psychologists.
Yeah. Well, like I said, pharmacology, the psychiatric area there is huge, and it's growing. You know, I was thinking about, you know, I haven't been to Utah in a long time. Of course, I lived there, 10 years. And the number of babies you guys have, all that free time, all those babies you make. I wondered about your autism rates. And one of the things I'll talk about on Sunday was, and I had a little discussion, a heated discussion with a physician in California, Cookie, California, on brand newborns being given the hepatitis B vaccine.
Got to be one of the stupidest things ever.
It is dumb. It has no logic, but whatsoever. All it has is fear behind it. It has fear tacked onto it. It's it. And I had an issue with the guy, and I turned to my wife, and she worked for this guy. I said, this doctor's a quack. You know that, right? I said, he's terrible. She didn't stay that job very long, but Point being is there is no logical reason to give a hepatitis B vaccine to a brand newborn, a new infant, newborn. No way. It's crazy. I worked in critical care. There are needle sticks. You come in contact with blood. There's a reason maybe for somebody in critical care or working emergency room that would take a hepatitis B vaccine shot because you're around sharps and blood. But we know that it's transmitted through a stick, through a contamination, needle sticks or equipment, and also through sexual activity. And we know infants are neither of those two apply to them. So why are you doing it? It makes no sense.
No immune system. With
It's
no immune
terrible.
system.
It's terrible. And parents have to, I mean, if you have a child here coming up soon, you better put it in writing that no shots, no hepatitis B shots, nothing. That newborn, it has an immune system, but if you start throwing a whole bunch of shots, vaccines at a brand new infant with an immune system is not up to 100% yet. It's still growing, mutating, and changing, evolving. You're going to overload that immune system. I guarantee you, it's not going to turn out well for you.
Okay, and what is one of the most profitable parts of a hospital?
OBGYN.
Especially the where they have the babies at.
Yep.
That's one of the most profitable parts of
Yep.
the hospital.
Yeah.
And now the transgender departments. Apparently, I just heard that. So Phil Lyman just shared this with us last week. I didn't know this. Supposedly, the University of Utah has one of the preeminent sex change departments or whatever.
Yeah.
It's called. That blew me away when I heard that.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. My time in Utah was a very good time. I worked with some very, very, very quality people at Utah Valley Regional Medical Center, which is now, I think, have a name change now, something different. I worked with some fine doctors there, fine nurses, fine people, a great organization. Actually, probably the highlight of my entire career. I've traveled all over the country. Utah Valley was the best hospital I've ever worked at. And to see what's going on in Utah County, I've had plenty of conversations with Orlin Kurla of Eagle Forum and BYU going woke, and their classes on homosexuality, and they're going off in a very bad direction, which I'm hoping the new president of the church will actually put his foot down and put an end to this. My wife and I were just talking yesterday. What would you do to make BYU follow a higher standard? And I started thinking, well, fire them. Fire those people that are the ones behind the agenda here who are bringing down the standards of the Mormon church. Fire them. You can surely do that. They're not living up to the standards of BYU and the Book of Mormon, and simply fire them, replace them like a football coach would replacing staff on the team. You replace these teachers, and you get qualified, competent people in charge that can lead our youth in school here and be a good example to our youth. Right now I'm saying, I don't know what's going on with BYU. I'm very disappointed. Orlean is just livid about what's going on with BYU. What somebody climbed up and from BYU and put a rainbow flag up by the U there, the big letter U, behind the mountain there from the stadium. BYU allowed it, and I don't understand what's going on. I don't think it's the same Utah anymore, and I would be very disappointed if I ever moved back.
I'm going to say this: there is a demonic battle that's happening here in Utah.
Yeah, there is.
You've got to go. It's happening against Texas. It's happening against Utah.
Yep.
I think it's starting to happen in Florida. I think there's going to be a much bigger battle in Florida than there is anywhere that there are people that are trying to be good, righteous people. And folks, I'm not saying I'm righteous, but I do try to be a good follower of Christ. I really do.
Right.
I have family prayers. I have personal prayers. I read scriptures with my family pretty much daily. That's something that's really important to me.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people all over the United States that do it, but definitely it's
Sure.
a big part of the culture here in Utah.
Yes, it is. Yes,
And
it is.
yeah, I guarantee you that Utah is being attacked.
It is. Well, you know what? Actually, it's funny as you mentioned that, because I told my wife my Nostradamus prediction for Utah. This was a while back. I told my wife that the LGBTQ would focus on Salt Lake City, and they already got the Catholics, so that doesn't matter anymore. They're the largest church in the world, and they would be coming after the LDS Church and try to get you to see it their way. And then when I found out later on what the governor of Utah is LGBT, he's a homosexual, I said they won. They did exactly what I told you they were going to do.
Are you talking about Spencer Cox?
Is he homosexual?
He is not. I have had people raise that question with me, and he is married to a woman, and he definitely shows himself as being a married man. But have I had people whisper to me and say a lot more than that he is definitely LGBT friendly, and my gaydar goes off when I'm around him. Let me put it that way.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this: when how many gay clubs do you have in Salt Lake City now? Any idea?
I don't have the foggiest idea, but I'll
tell you what. That's why I want you to look up.
People outside of Utah would be surprised. Okay, yeah. So I happen to know someone who is gay,
okay,
and I know the sister of that individual very well. Those that are gay in Salt Lake say, "Hey, the second biggest per capita population of gays outside of San Francisco is Utah, is Salt Lake City."
Right. I'm looking up right now. I'm seeing if I can find out.
The mayor was a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 mayors ago. So yeah.
Well, it says here there are at least 5 active gay bars or gay-friendly clubs and bars in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then this one here says the 10 best gay bars in Salt Lake City. So I don't know. I just know when I was there and I left in, I'm going to say 2002, there wasn't one that I know of. There wasn't one.
Okay. I know in 2002 that there were at least 2 in
Really?
2002.
No.
So I worked in Salt Lake City, and I knew of at least 2 in 2002. And one was a significant nightclub size.
Mm-hmm.
One of the bigger nightclubs, and another one that was a bar. Okay, so we're at 5:46 Utah time. So we've got about 15 minutes left. I want to there are a couple things that we mentioned. Bobby Kennedy and Trump, I would love your thoughts on that. Israel Trump Prime Minister Netanyahu meeting yesterday. Netanyahu said he wants to have an 8-front war against people that do not believe what he believes here in the United States. And he was speaking of the United States, being asked by a influencer, a lady influencer. And then I said, hey, what are a couple things you might want to talk about? And you said news pieces on the puzzle on what happened leading to the Charlie Kirk assassination. Yep. I think we covered that. But you said Hegseth call on generals for a meeting.
Yeah, they're calling on the generals around the country here, bringing a big powwow here. Of course, we know the Department of Defense is no longer the Department of Defense. It's now called the Department of War. That sends a bad message. But Donald Trump is not, a buyer's remorse here on my end. I am sorry I voted for this guy. I really wish I just sat this one out. I'm very disappointed in what he's become. But now we have a Department of War, which means that's what we're looking for the guy who didn't want war. He wants to bring peace and everything else he promised us in the campaign seems to be leaning now to take over Venezuela, because Venezuela has so much mineral resources and they have the largest oil reserve in the world, and we'd like to have that. make sure we get it in our hands. We don't want it in Russia's hands. We don't want it in China's hands. So now we're looking for ways to get into Venezuela. We're manufacturing consent, as Noam Chomsky would say in his book, looking for reasons to demonize them. And drug boats, we'll blow it out of the water. Did we make sure it really was a drug boat? No, we just blew it out of the water and told you it was. We're looking for reasons to get into Venezuela to do a regime change and take over their resources. That's pretty much all I can say on that. The calling the generals in with Hegseth here, neocon Hegseth here, Pete Hegseth. I think this is clearly an intimidation to Russia, to maybe even provoke Russia to maybe carry out a significant attack on Ukraine, especially when the President of the United States, Donald Trump, comes and calls the military, Russia's military, a paper tiger. That's quite the insult. So I think he's trying to push some buttons on Putin to actually do something, get really angry and then do something, which then, even though Ukraine is not a NATO member, that for some reason they'd bypass all the rules of the NATO constitution and NATO would get involved, Europe would get involved, and they would all unite, come together and be fighting Russia by themselves, NATO forces and Europe. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to provoke Russia to do something big in order to nullify the NATO constitution and bring NATO into play here with their soldiers, with Ukraine, what's left of Ukraine soldiers, and pretty much all of Europe. I think that's what they're trying to do. But Putin is a chess player. He's not a checker player. He's a chess player. I don't think he's going to take the bait. I think he knows what they're trying to do. He's not going to fall for it. He's going to continue on his narrative. And the war will come to an end when it is agreed, Ukraine agrees that NATO cannot come into Ukraine and built a NATO base there with missiles pointed at Russia. It's a common sense thing. I would be just as concerned if a hostile country, or country I call hostile, would be in Mexico building a military base pointing missiles at the United States. I would be just as concerned. And I think that's the same direction. That's the same feeling as Vladimir Putin. It's a logical war to be waging. I hate war. Don't get me wrong. I hate war. I hate death on both sides. I think it should come to an end. It should have never happened. And it would have never happened had we not funded it and continue to fund it. And now that Donald Trump's talked about sending over Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine to use, that one could actually start off World War III. And
okay.
that could.
I don't think that. Do I think this is on NATO and I think on the United States? I'm going to say it's like 60%, maybe 70%, maybe even 75%. But this is not like, Putin's not like absolutely hating life that this is going on. No. I'm sorry. Putin is a nefarious actor. Your statement of him being a chess player, absolutely. He is former KGB. He's got one of his right-hand men coming off the plane in up in Alaska wearing the equivalent of it. It's not CCP because but it had the initials the way it used to be written in Russian for the Soviet Union when he came off the plane. So the bottom line is, I don't see Putin as a he's not he's not what I would call a good guy.
Well,
but that being said, this was very much ramped up and created by NATO, by the United and by actors in the United States. Like John, who would that be? Well, Mitt Romney made a lot of money off of it. So did Pelosi.
Throw Lindsey Graham in there. Throw Lindsey Graham in there.
Absolutely. Lindsey Graham. Oh, Lindsey Graham. I mean, it's like he's almost having fantasies. And I won't say what kind of fantasies, but it's a fetish.
Even Marco Rubio. These guys are all beating the war drums right now. And whatever relationship Trump says he used to have.
They're getting money. They get kickbacks off this.
Yeah.
They get kickbacks.
The relationship that Trump said he had with Putin. The relationship that Trump said he had with Putin a fine, good relationship with Vladimir Putin is sabotaged. It's been destroyed with Donald Trump talking out of the side of his mouth and sending more money and weapons to Ukraine. He doesn't want to see an end to it. As a matter of fact, he's telling Zelensky, hey, keep fighting on here. I think you can win this war. I think you can win back territory and maybe even take some stuff inside of Russia there. I mean, what a backstab on the whole idea of finding a ceasefire and a peace agreement and telling Putin, that's what I want for both of you. I want to bring peace. And then on the side, you're funneling all this money and weaponry over to Ukraine. That relationship is over. It's over. We got the Cold War and more coming back now because Donald Trump has reneged on his peace promise.
Well, another thing that's happening is China. This scares me. China and Russia are forming a great relationship. They're getting they're forming relationships like that all over the globe.
Yep.
India, starting to have good relations with China and Russia.
Yep.
India's always had good relationship with Russia, and Russia Russia's never been so prosperous.
Right.
They're and what we need to do is this work, and on top of that, Russia's producing 4 times the amount of munitions that all of NATO is. In fact, it just recently came out. Just I want to say it was either at the beginning, it was either yesterday or the end of last week that the Defense Department has just told the military industrial complex, you need to ramp up double the amount of a number of missiles and missile systems, and some of them 4 times the amount. This scares me to death, and I agree.
It should.
We are getting way too close. We are way closer to World War III than we should be.
Sometimes I wonder how much of this is actually a diversion also away from other things that are very unpleasant for Donald Trump. I mean, nobody's really talking a whole lot. Sometimes for a little while, it lasts the diversion story of, Russia and, demonizing Venezuela. And then suddenly nobody's talking about the Epstein files anymore. And then suddenly, boom, it comes back into play. Because I've met a lot of people who say they're not going to let this go. I'm not letting it go.
Okay.
We need to get down to the bottom of it. Who's in the list?
I'm so glad you're bringing this up. Okay, so this is my opinion. The Epstein problem and the sexual abuse of children problem, especially the satanic ritual abuse of children here in the United States. We've lost over 400,000, probably 1 million children to sex trafficking.
Right.
That is the number one thing that needs to be overcome in the United States.
Right.
And why is that so important, John? Why is that so important that we overcome? Why is it more important than even Russia and Ukraine? And I'm going to say it's magnitudes, 10 times, maybe more. Because we're allowing within our country to have that sin happen. And it is, in my opinion, it is the greatest sin of all.
It is.
The sexual abuse, especially satanic ritual sexual abuse of children, is even worse than it's the worst thing by far.
It is. And the movie Sound of Freedom, if you've watched it, I think you've watched it. I watched it.
Yes.
It is.
It was a wonderful movie.
Wonderful music. I recommend anybody who hasn't seen it, go see it. Sound of Freedom with Jim Caviezel. God's children are not for sale. They are not for sale. This is the greatest crime that I know. And
it's more than abortion. It's more than abortion.
It's terrible. And the very idea that Donald Trump refuses to turn it over and open it up puts him in a category of the people that we probably see in the file itself, not good people. He has done considerable damage to his reputation over this, John. Considerable damage to his reputation. We all looked the other way and said, well, he's not perfect. He's not a choir boy. But now I'm starting to see those character flaws that maybe we should have paid a little bit more attention to. But the bottom line is we were caught between a rock and a hard place, John. We had a crazy wacko Kamala Harris.
I don't care if we have a huge economic problem. I don't care if the economy crashes. Then we'll have to build out of it. And it's not going to be, man, if the economy crashes right now, Steve, it's going to be bad for me personally.
Yeah.
Bad for me. It's not going to, my kids will come back. I think my kids will have time to come back, but I'll be devastated. I'll be a pauper for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll probably have to do what they used to do here in Utah. The old Indians used to do. They used to go and
barter and trade.
Right before a really big wind, you know, big snowstorm, they'd go up there, form a little fire, and they'd leave the old man up there and let him die.
Actually, and I think the Eskimos took their elders that were, as they would say, not productive anymore, put him on an iceberg and ship it away and let him float out to the ocean. You know, that's it. That was his way of leaving life, to be in honor on the iceberg, to be floating away. But no, we should be very concerned. This artificial intelligence, that kids all get excited about artificial intelligence. Hey, if it falls, the technology that could be a great thing, if it falls in the wrong hands, and it typically does fall in the wrong hands, you're going to regret that artificial intelligence was ever created, like creating the nuclear bomb. You're going to be sorry that it was ever created.
It may be worse than the nuclear bomb.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're at 6:00. Is there any last things that you want to talk about before we go? Steve, it's been great having you back.
No, I just maybe direct some of your traffic over to Republic Broadcasting Network. That's republicbroadcasting.org. I'm on Sunday night. The show is called Off the Beaten Path from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to be kicking off a lot of information on COVID vaccine injury, a lot of great stuff to share, a lot of data. You're going to want to get your pen and paper ready to write this stuff down, to share it with information. And as I always tell everybody, just don't take my word for it. Do your own homework, do your research, and then share that with others. So I'm going
to try to get someone. Well, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to try to get my daughter-in-law to listen to that program.
Please do.
Because she's from Argentina, and to be in the United States, her understanding, in order to be in the United States, she had to take 2 COVID shots. And so, you know, it was her understanding, you will be removed from the United States if you don't take the COVID shot and then get the booster. Now, fortunately, she stopped at that. Mm-hmm. But she's not anti-vax like I'm anti-vax. Mm-hmm. So I will make sure. I'm glad you're doing that show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I got lots of notes, lots of good things to share, a lot of statistics. You know, and the sad part about it, and Donald Trump and RFK Jr. actually announced, I'm going to say 2 or 3 weeks ago now, there are 4 more COVID messenger RNA shots in the works to be released very soon. I'm very disappointed in that. Very disappointed. And I know that Donald Trump has a hard time coming back and said, I made a mistake. He has a problem with accountability and responsibility. He screwed up with this whole 10 months of warp speed COVID shots. And now he's going forward and saying, we're going to release 4 more. And now trying to find blame for autism with Tylenol and point the direction away from the pharmaceuticals and the vaccines themselves. I'm very disappointed in this man, John. Talk about a third term? I don't think so. Think so.
We're not going to have a third term.
In my opinion, it's unconstitutional. Let's just say
you're right. It's unconstitutional, and I think that's just Trump trolling people. I mean,
that's Trump arrogance. That's Trump arrogance to say
some
something
arrogance
like that.
and trolling people.
Yes,
both. I don't like that he said it. I think it undermines him on a big level by just even saying that.
But you know, John, he said a lot of dumb things in the last 8 months. I'm going to take over Greenland, military if necessary. Take it over. I'm going to take the Panama Canal back by military if necessary. I want to take Canada. We're going to make it the 51st.
Okay, I'm going to disagree. We found a point that we disagree upon. I have no problem with the United States taking over the Panama Canal.
No, I didn't.
Especially if China is, especially with what China's trying to do with it.
I don't think you have to use military. It's throwing that military thing around. From the guy who's never served ever in his life in the military, I have a problem with people who had never served throwing around the weight of our military and boasting and beating their chest. I have a problem with people like that, personally.
Okay.
That's it.
Anything else?
No, I think that was a lot of fun. That was 2 hours that blew by pretty fast.
Yes, it did. So, Steve, I just want to say this: be blessed, brother. May you, your wife, your daughter, and your grandchildren, and I believe you have a son-in-law still.
Yeah.
May you all be blessed.
Hey, big weekend this weekend, right? Big weekend.
Oh,
General conference. General conference.
Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well,
yes, it will be.
So
it will be.
Okay, we know who is going to wind up being announced. So for those, what are we talking about? The president of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, Russell Nelson, died late Saturday night.
Yep.
So that means we will have a new prophet announced. I mean, we know who it is. It's going to be Dallin H. Oaks.
Yeah.
The question is, who's going to be made a member of the 12? So yeah, it's kind of an unusual time. It's always interesting. But it'll be an interesting weekend. So, but bottom line is, I hope everybody understands this when it comes to Talk with Jon. Jesus Christ is Lord and King. And I care not what denomination you are, serve the Lord, serve Jesus Christ.
I agree with that.
Steve, I think, does a fine job of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steve, thank you for fighting for your God, for your country, and for the Constitution. I see you as a brother of mine, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for joining my show.
It is a small price to pay. Our lives, we're blessed to be on this earth here, and we are supposed to leave it better than we came. So I'm doing my part, and whether there's consequences or not, I'm going to do what I have to do. And some may not like it. That's tough, but I got to do what I got to do. That's my purpose now. That's my purpose.
Steve, you're doing well. I think just like Charlie Kirk was told, "Well done, thou faithful servant."
Yep.
I think you're well on your path to getting that same thing when you go back to meet your maker.
I agree. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Take care.
All
right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been Talk with Jon here on KMMU. Steve, please go. Steve Elkins is a great host. Great host. Please go to republicbroadcastingnetwork.org. You can go, and his show is Off the Beaten Path. It happens on Sunday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, which is 5 to 7 Utah time. Folks, we'll see you next week. I'm going to have Michael Letts on, and he's got a lot of information that we'll be covering. So I appreciate the heck out of you. Thanks for being